Hello, welcome everyone. I'm in the process of working on that house with my husband, and so I am in the old junk room that he had when he was a kid. So excuse the mess, but we have a very special episode today of Eunuch Corner Club, and it is the 45th official episode of Eunuch Corner Club. We have on a friend of mine, a supporter of the channel named Violence is Life, to talk to us about Asatru and raising children in a pre-Christian, um, um, let's call it a pre-Christian European. I'll let her speak for herself about exactly what Asatru is. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but the reason that I am quieter today than usual is my guest's microphone is clear but not very loud because she has little ones sleeping near her. So I purposely have my volume diminished by about half to force you guys to have to turn up the volume to hear me. So hopefully you'll be able to hear her as well. And we'll do the best with what we can with technological limitations today. But she's a mother of two, and she's going to be speaking to us today about raising young ones and building a family around Asatru and pagan values of pre-Christian Europe. So without further ado, let's welcome her on today. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. There's a new thing that I do now. I would like to thank all of you who support me monthly. And I'm going to toggle over to that right now. Here we go. Over on Subscribe Star, you can support me monthly, and I would definitely appreciate that because the more monthly support I get, the more effort I can put into making content, finding guests, networking, and doing the things that you all love me for doing. I'd like to thank Heidi Van Buskirk, Already Death, Joseph, Landman, Deus Light, Orcus and Little Red, Velicus White Healing, Violence is Life, and Sax Smits for supporting me monthly on Subscribe Star. And as you can see, Violence is Life has been a longtime supporter of the channel, and she is with us today. So let me toggle back to my camera here. There we go. We're going to bring on Violence now. Violence, no need to be on cam if you don't want. I know that you said that that's not necessary. I just wanted to be on here to say hello to everyone, let them see my face, and thank everyone for being here today. If you'd like to financially gift, you can do that on Cash App, Entropy, all the usual places. I've got the links in the description and in the chat. And every 20 or 30 minutes, I'll be checking all of the chat to see if you have any questions or quandaries about my guest, about Asatru, or just in general that you want me to read. And of course, Entropy is the place to be for chat because we can do polls over there. There's a question widget. So even if you don't have the money to donate or don't want to donate, you can still put questions and comments to me and my guests on the question widget over on Entropy. So please use Entropy for the chat. And also would like to let you know, I have been authorized for hyper chats on Odyssey. So you can give me dollary dues directly on Odyssey now. So anyway, thank you all for watching on Odyssey, DLive, Trovo, Entropy, all the usual environs. Thank you so much for being here. Now, let's move on to talking to my illustrious guest, Violence is Life. Violence, I'm just going to call you Vi for now, if that's okay. So Vi, I've asked you on today to talk to us about Asatru and just give us a brief description of yourself and what has led you to being a practitioner of your ways, and we'll move on from there because I know that we've already got some notes ready. So let's go ahead and start with your introduction.
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you okay. You're a little quiet, but I've got my volume diminished. So those of you listening, you might have to crank up your volume some more to hear her. Let me know if you can hear her okay in the chat, and we'll go from there.
I pulled it closer.
Okay, hopefully that'll work.
I'm a member of the Cajun people, and I grew up in a very Catholic community in Southeast Louisiana. And when I was being made to go to Catholic school, I began to wonder about, what came before. And my dad, having gone to college, there was a bunch of his history books lying around, and I'd ask him, and he would tell me about the Greek gods and the Roman gods and the Egyptian gods. And I mean, it's probably a lot to do too with at that time. See, I was born in 1987, so when I was young, certain movies were coming out, like The Mummy. I really love The Mummy. It's a great movie.
I love it too. I think it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's fun. So that this being very rural little town on the bayou, and another factor I think, looking back on it, is how all of my ancestors' graves are above ground because we
Okay.
can't bury things on the bayou.
Right.
Anything buried is gonna get wet immediately. You stick a shovel in the ground and water comes out. We're like 3 feet below sea level.
Well, go on. I'm listening.
Okay, I was making sure. I had to.
No, I'm
tilt the
giving
screen
you
back to
time to
look
give
at
your
it.
full introduction before we get to my questions and talking about the things I brought you on for today. So go ahead, take your time, tell us about yourself and what led you to where you are today, and we'll move from there.
Right. Well, so my dad also taught me a little bit. He tried not to, I think, but he had his astrology around and his tarot cards around, and I just kind of picked up on all of that. You know, I have his tarot deck now. It's somewhere in here. Um, and for my family in particular, Halloween was always very important. So these are all like factors building up to me exploring religions and exploring spiritual paths, and eventually coming upon many different ways and paths and things, and you know, just like generally through, especially throughout middle school, and well, actually it was called junior high when I was there because the bayou's way behind the times.
That's what
um
they called it where I grew up too. It might as
just
well have been 1920 where I grew up. It was nice.
right. It's still very dated on the bayou. Like, I can remember seeing a dial telephone. So you know, what all these things, and you know, uh, having to and being dragged to Catholic church all the time, and then like making an excuse to go out to the church's garden and just like look at things that were out there. You know, the plants and the
Uh-huh.
statue of the Virgin Mary,
Uh-huh.
and all the candles to the dead. That you know, it's generally our culture. And I would look at that, but then I would, when we would get home, I'd run off into the woods behind the house, and I could like feel a spirit in the trees and in the land and in the water,
Okay.
and especially during blackberry season.
We
Oh
like
man,
to pick
those.
blackberries around here too. We got a whole bunch of them.
Oh yeah,
It's been
they
sort of
get
a family
real big.
tradition for everybody out here in the mountain hollers. I mean, I guess a lot of people
Oh
in
yeah.
America do that, but it was a thing where I grew up too, and we still do it sometimes. I did it with my mom just last year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's nice.
I'm growing some over here. I live in Chattanooga now, and we got some heirloom ones growing in the backyard. They got pretty big.
Not too far south from me, just about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive down 81. I could be there.
Right. Well, that means you'd pass in about the Meigs County. There's a group. They're still in Meigs County, but they bought some property in Tellico Plains, and they're fixing to pretty much build an Amish style but heathen community.
Oh,
Some
nice.
close friends of mine, and thing is, they want a lot of money for a plot we don't have. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe
Land
someday.
costs a fortune, especially now. But
Yeah.
let's since people know some about you now, why don't you tell me? Let's get more on target since we've got you talking now. Let's move to current era. Let's go ahead and skip ahead. You're married. You selected a husband. He selected you. Is it because you share similar beliefs? Is that what brought you together?
We met at one of the blots held by the group.
And that's
I was invited.
the Asatru group, correct?
Yes, yes. Um,
I'm going to share their
and
link in the chat right now. This is runestone.org. That's the name of the Asatru Folk Assembly website. There, you can
yes.
get a link to their YouTube channel where they hold monthly live streams. The leader of it, Matthew, he's a good man. I spoke to him privately once. I've ordered the basic books for Asatru, but I haven't read them yet, but I do have them. And I just wanted to get the link out for the Asatru Assembly, which is the country-spanning organization, and there are Asatru groups active in many, many European descent countries. So, runestone.org. So, go ahead, please continue. You met your husband through one of the Blitz, or however you say it.
Well, yeah, accent is a matter of pronunciation, but yeah. So yeah, I was invited up there by a fella in Mississippi, because I was in Louisiana at the time, and we drove us up, and we got there, and the next day we start we start getting together and getting everything ready, all of the items and the food and everything. So there was a lot of food.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of the
great.
videos about those meetups on the Asatru Folk Assembly YouTube channel, and they look like a lot of fun. I might try to look into going to one at some point if they'll have me, of course.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah, they probably would welcome people coming.
Well, in the future, if you guys are going to do something around here in Tennessee, maybe I'll go with you, and we'll meet up and have some Asatru fun together.
That would be fantastic, because yeah, Mila cooks some amazing bread.
Cool.
Anyway, so like, where was I? Train of thought.
No problem.
So
I just asked you about meeting your husband and starting your family under Asatru, or whatever it is you'd like to call it, paganism, heathenism, whatever.
Well, I generally like to use the term heathenism, and that, I will get into like a language lesson about that if anybody asks about the word heath, meaning pretty much like wild land, hedges, a plate like farms, and farms near otherwise wild land, forests and stuff, and the kind of people who live rural like that.
Yeah.
The same thing goes for the word pagan, only it has a Latin base. See, heathen has the more Germanic base of heath, meaning land, and pagan is the Latin word meaning rural people living off the land. So they kind of
mean the same things. It's just the word heathen you like better because it has more proper Germanic, high European roots.
Well, yeah, and also heathen is more specific about the northern gods, as pagan could mean also the Roman and Greek gods.
I see. Okay, so heathen is much more appropriate when talking about Asatru and Norse gods and that kind of thing.
In my opinion, I mean, lots of people have their own, but generally, this is the opinion.
Well, I have you here to share your opinion, so you can cut loose and say whatever you believe. So, speaking of what you believe, can you take a moment to, as we're getting started here, can you take a moment to explain to me, maybe in 2 to 5 minutes, what your beliefs are and how you would describe them to someone who is completely ignorant of this stuff, mostly me included?
Okay. So, there, and a lot of it comes down to ancestors. Who your ancestors are is very important. When you're doing a ceremony of blood, you should toast to your ancestors. And I've done my genealogy. Lots of people are into doing genealogy in the movement, and knowing who your ancestors are is a big part of it. And then beyond that, and this I believe goes back to ancient times, is knowing who the gods and goddesses are, and who the land spirits that live now. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
No problem.
The ancient stories of the gods and goddesses, I believe, go back much farther. And there are of course a couple of documents called the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda that were written in the Middle Ages.
I ordered both of those. I got a copy of both of those about a month ago.
Let me do this. Oh, hey, baby girl, go take a nap. It's nap time.
All right, here we go.
Oh, don't cry.
I've got it on screen. We'll go ahead and max this. And boop, that should get it. There we go. All right. I'll turn my camera off for maximum bandwidth for everybody since I'm on hillbilly internet out here.
Yeah,
there we
me
go.
Too. How do I do that?
All righty. So go ahead and talk about what you were going to talk about here now that we got this open.
Okay, so these pieces that we pretty much have on. Well, this one's the Poetic Edda, written by Snorri Sturluson in the Middle Ages, and he was really trying to preserve the art of being a kind of poet at the time. He wanted to preserve the poems and the meter in which the poems were sung. Because
Is that
it's
similar
the Middle
to
Ages.
is that similar to the Nordic word skald, the battle poets, the warrior poets?
I do think so. Yes, it's more like a
Because I'm
synonym.
familiar
but
with
yes.
that word from fantasy role playing and fantasy movies and stuff like that.
Yes. So yeah, the skaldic poetry, and he wanted to preserve, the way things were done. That was his main thing. And a lot of people say, oh, it was 200 years into Christianization. But personally, I don't think that makes him any kind of, bishop or anything. People well into that time, and even especially in Iceland probably, and well into Europe, well into ages beyond the official Christianization, still held on to a lot of pagan values, which ended up influencing Christianity to begin with. Anybody remember Christmas trees?
Oh yeah. I think most of my viewers will be familiar with the what they called pagan holidays being adapted into the Christian calendar and stuff a long time ago.
Yeah, Easter, all of that. Easter is a goddess, and we generally call the time around the winter solstice, we call it Yule, and in the southern, more like the Roman, kind of, I'm going to use the word paradigm, but I wish I had a better word. There's Saturnalia, and it's generally the same. It's feasting, and things are just different for a few days. And it's the whole 12 days thing is in both. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
There's 12 days of Yule and Saturnalia.
I got you. Well, let's move on for sake of time, because we got a lot of ground to cover. Let's move on.
Certainly, yes. Yeah, I'm kind of getting into the weeds there.
No problem. That's why I'm here. I'm keeping us on track.
All right. So yes, there in ancient times the gods walked the earth. They were here. They were around. Odin did stuff, and it is said helped the Lombards, is what they're known as now. Win that particular battle that took place in Lombardy way back when.
Okay.
And they took over the land, and that's now why it's called Lombardy. And so yes, we believe generally that the gods were real. They existed, and it was a very, very long time ago.
That's one of the things I really like about this religious structure is the gods are actual literal mythic figures, much like the Jesus figure or the Muhammad figure. They're not just said to be ideas or from a faraway plane. They were actual heroes and champions that walked the earth. I think that's pretty damn cool.
Oh yes, and it's a lot like that first part in Lord of the Rings where you can hear Galadriel saying, legends became myths. That whole thing she says.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's generally thought of as how it is. Like it happened, but it happened so long ago. We can just kind of barely remember it as a people. As long as the stories continue to be told, and telling stories is also a very important part of it. Especially the stories of one's ancestors. So,
that really appeals to me because I love storytelling.
Oh yeah, and when I was hanging out with the group in Meigs County, we would sit around the bonfire outside, and we would do that. I would tell stories that my grandma told me. I would tell it to those guys there, and they would tell their stories of their great grandpas and stuff.
Cool. And so let's keep moving here then, for sake of time. Let's move on and finish with you explaining just exactly what this structure is.
Okay, so they're gods and goddesses, it is said in the stories that they, and I'm sure a lot of people know this, if they've looked into it at all. The gods live in, oh, hang on, my baby's in here. Asgard, and yes, I am actually offended by the Marvel movies, personally.
Okay, well, that's a chat for another time then. Because I don't know enough about them to have an opinion, so we could just step over that.
So there's different worlds. There's 9 worlds. It is said in the Poetic Edda.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere.
And those are the ones that are all they are Earth-like worlds that are all connected through the life tree or the binding tree. Yggdrasil, I think is how you say it.
Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil. Okay.
Yggdrasil, yes.
Yggdrasil.
With the Y, the Y letter often being more like a I or an U sound.
Okay, so Yggdrasil.
So yes, and that is generally thought of as a kind of a cosmic idea of what the ancient people thought of what we would now call space.
Okay, cool.
And they were surprisingly like they weren't totally ignorant of how things worked. They didn't think the earth was flat. They did think there was an ocean around it, and that the serpent Jormungandr is in there keeping all the water in.
Right, Jormungandr, the great coiled serpent that held the world together, or held the things that weren't the earth at bay. Is that what it was?
It held the ocean around the world, around Midgard.
Because all of my knowledge so far is just from the lore I've picked up from various things in my life, and from thumbing through the Beginner's Guide to Asatru book in the last week or so.
Right. And yeah, I took a peek at that book. It's an all right book. It's more like a Cliff Notes. It'll get you the basics real fast.
Yeah, that's one of the 3 Asatru books I ordered, along with the other 2 Edda books.
Right, but reading this here, it would take a lot of time, but these poems are really something to really get into.
Especially, well, I have that book, and it's thick. It's like 300 or 400 pages. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. So I'm looking forward to reading some of those one day. So speaking of reading those, and I hear one of your beautiful babies making noise in the background there. Do you read your children some of these stories? Do you read your children these stories? Okay. Do you need me to give you a minute?
Well, yes, I sometimes do. I mean, we have a lot of little read to them, but yes, I some sit them down and start to read them, some of these poems. And one of the questions you had about like raising children in the heathen path is, since we have a lot of bonfires, the children get used to fire safety real quick.
Always a good skill to have.
But yeah, the little one did wake up and is upset.
Is there a particular thing you have prepared you'd like to read for us today? Was there one you had selected?
This right here that I've pulled up, if you can see it, is when Sigurd goes to the Valkyrie.
Do you want me to give you a minute to take care of your baby? Because we can wait for a second for you to take care of your baby if you like before you read.
Yeah, she's not going to go back to sleep if I don't go and hold her.
Okay.
Hang on a second. I can actually bring the computer over there if the battery will last long enough.
Hey, it's okay. We like white babies on this channel. This is a safe channel for white babies.
All right. I just got to give her some titty milk.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, they're hungry little things. All right, so this prayer right here is I try most days to say this in the morning when I go and look at my pagan altar that I keep in the art room. Hail day, hail sons of day, and night and her. Well, sometimes I say it's sister. It depends on the translation, but I'm gonna go with this. Hail night and her daughter now. Look on us here with loving eyes, that waiting we victory win. Because the way sentences were constructed back then are different.
Mm-hmm.
Hail the gods, ye goddesses hail, and all the generous earth. Give to us wisdom and goodly speech and healing hands lifelong. Long did I sleep, my slumber was long, and long are griefs of life. Oh, then decreed that I could not break the heavy spells of sleep. So this was Sigdrifa the Valkyrie.
Cool.
I generally say the first part in the morning.
I like it. It's pretty.
And well, I have me a cup of coffee, and I have this bowl on my altar, and I pour some of the coffee out into the bowl, and later on I'll take it outside and go before either the outside altar or one of the trees and let it onto the ground.
Cool.
And we have a garden, and we believe that there are spirits of all the plants and the land and in the garden and pretty much in the trees and everything. Everything has a spirit. And so when we go to pick the things like right now we got the tomatoes are coming ripe, and we thank the plant and the spirit of the plant to, thanks for the tomatoes, thanks for the basil leaves, thanks for the let's see what else we got out there. We got a whole lot of lettuce plants, and we just thank each plant because it sacrifices part of itself for our sustenance.
That's beautiful. I like that.
We're like, hey, we're growing you here to eat you, so but instead of like just chopping off the whole plant, I'll just take a few leaves off of each lettuce plant and let the thing keep growing.
Okay.
That is until, later in the year when they start to die, then we'll take them all up. But still, thank the plants and the land spirits and kind of ask them not to hate us for it.
Is there anything else you want to read, or are we ready to close this window down?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you don't have to be sorry. I'm just asking.
I left it up and I kind of forgot.
That's okay. We'll go back to this now.
All right.
There we go. So now that you've given us a little primer about that, we talked earlier in the week, and you made some notes of things to talk about today. Specifically for the bulk of the show, which is going to be the next 30 to 40 minutes, I wanted to talk to you about experiences that you've had instilling these values and ideas into your children and making those manifest to have positive values within your family and to teach them about the world. So on your notes there, the things that you've got prepared to talk about, do you want to just start at the top of the list, or is there one that calls to you to start with first that you'd like to talk about?
Hang on, I got to go back in my chair.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Tiny baby. Yeah, I'm having to hold her now, so got my hands a little bit full, but I can do this.
Okay.
All right, looking up. Yes, and so like reading them the poems, a lot of the poems are about battles and war and stuff, and right now the older one is only 2. She just turned 2. And this one here, she's about 3 months old. But, come later on in their lives, I hope to instill in them values such as, knowing how to defend themselves and generally exploring spirituality.
Mm-hmm. And as your name suggests, violence is a part of life. Death is a part of life. We have to fight for our family. We have to fight for our territory. We even have to fight the beasts in nature sometimes. It's important to teach your kids the dangers of fire, of tooth and claw, and in the modern era of bullet and blade. So it's important
Absolutely.
to raise children with an understanding of those things, and that violence and bloodletting and death is an unavoidable part of the natural experience.
It's intrinsic to it.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe, and this is the second part of my little phrase: violence is life, peace is death. Because what's written on headstones? What's written on headstones? Rest in peace.
Yep. I definitely understand the meaning there. I have many people requesting to see you and your baby, but you don't have to turn your camera on if you don't want to. But people would like to see you and your beautiful baby. Would you like to do that? Hi, beautiful baby. Hi. This is the one that I met the other day, right, on camera, right?
Yes, Annie.
Okay. Hi, Annie. Everybody say hello to Annie. Let's get a 14 in the chat for violence and little baby Annie.
You can see my tree painting back there.
Cool. I like your painting back there. It's cool.
Yeah. I think it could be better, but yeah, I mean, the tree looks a little. Oh.
Hi, little one. It's okay. It's okay. If you want to turn your camera off, you can. Yeah. There you go. Well, there you go, everybody that wanted to see her and her beautiful baby. There she is.
Yeah, the baby loves titty milk.
Yeah, as they often do.
Yep, and I've never given them formula. We have some around in the cabinet somewhere, but I knew someone who actually had to feed their children formula, and that made their poo kind of unpleasant.
Several of the females that I have met in the White Wool Being say that you should never ever give babies formula milk. I've heard that from many mothers. But speaking of mothers, let's look at that list of things that you've prepared now that we're a little more settled. And pick one of the things on the list. Maybe give us an example of the types of stories or types of behaviors connected to the heathen belief structure and the way that you practice that you've instilled in your children, or things that you do together as a family. I'm sure that not only me, but my viewers would love to hear some examples.
Right. A funny thing is, whenever me and my husband, whenever we have drinks in our cups, we say "Skull." The little toddler will too. She'll hold up her drink and Annie.
Annie wants to be heard.
Yeah, sorry, it is nap time, and she was asleep.
That's okay. No, I made everybody that's watching today, they knew ahead of time that you are a busy mother and that we were talking during nap time. So I'm sure nobody here is too upset by that. It's okay.
All right. So yes, we read them the stories, but we also tell stories of, my grandparents. My grandma's still alive, and she's told me a lot of interesting stories about her father and her grandfather, and a lot of the other family members. My grandmother's living room is full of old photographs of a lot of my ancestors.
Oh, that's cool.
And relations. Like I have 15 cousins.
I have a lot of them too. Yeah. Being a hillbilly and my people being from here for 150 years, I'm related to a whole bunch of people I haven't even met yet. I think I have 22 cousins or something like that. I'm from a big family.
Oh yeah. I was including my first cousins and their children, and it's probably more than 15. I think my grandma has at least 15 great grandchildren.
Yeah, I don't think that the people I was talking about are direct cousins. It's like second cousins and stuff. But when you have related families that have been intermarrying in the same 20-mile area of land for 200 years, everybody's kind of related.
Oh yeah, it's like that on the bayou too. And that's why a lot of people do genealogy. We make sure we don't inbreed, much to the Northerners' ignorance.
Yeah, we do that here too. Whenever people that are local are getting married, we always got to check family tree and make sure there's not any dangerous crossovers.
Right? Because a lot of people down there are my cousins. My husband, however, is a Chattanooga man, and he's not even French.
Okay. Then let's go ahead and
trace my genealogy all the way to the ancestor who left France, a small town in southern France.
Oh, cool.
And landed in Donaldsonville, and all of his descendants stayed there. We don't often leave because the bayou is the best place on earth.
Well, let's talk about some specifics on your list then, because I really wanted some people. Yeah. I really wanted all the people gathered here today to hear you talk about specifics of activities you do, prayers, rituals that you do, things that you do with your family to build values. Because like I told you when we talked this week, and because you follow my channel, I like bringing people on to talk about religion and faith and spirituality, how it applies to their lives, especially how it applies to children and building family. So let's talk about some of the things on your list. Start with whichever one that you'd like and give us some examples and some experiences, please.
All right. Well, and I've got pictures of this. That's not handy, but I've got pictures of when the first one, Heidi was a few months old. We did a baby heathening ritual where we just put her in the stroller, and we went out to the in our yard. We have a special place where we light fires in a big steel circle that my husband got because he's an iron worker and he can get a hold of metal. So we go out and we light the fire, and I would weave certain plants into a wreath, which we later burn.
And what's the significance of weaving the wreath, and what's the significance of burning it? I'd like us to hear.
It represents the spirits, the land spirit, the landvatir in the Norse. The Norse tends to call it the landvatir, but there's the land spirits, the plants and the land spirits. You know, we ask for their blessing. We ask for the blessing of the ancestors and the gods and goddesses, and we do a libation of my husband got a bottle of mead in this particular time, and you know, we have drinking horns. We do that. We do have our drinking horns. His is carved with runes he did himself. Mine is kind of plain, but I have a Thor's hammer that he made attached to it, and so we would put the mead in the horns, and do a toast, ask the gods and the goddesses and the spirits for their blessing. We drink, we pour out the libation, and put the wreath by the baby, and then play. I got a drum. We play a little music. He often likes to pull up some good heathen bands like a Ward Runner, and play them. We dance around a bit around the fire, and
sounds fun.
She just she was a little thing, so she just sat in the stroller at this time, and we put her on we have a bunch of like Mjolnir, pendant necklaces, and we put one on her, and we wore ours, and we sang,
and then at the end you said when it's done you burn the wreath.
Yes, we take the wreath and we burn it, and it was a lot of oregano in there because we grow that. We grow a lot of herbs.
Cool.
So it smelled really nice. And
what's the spiritual significance of burning the wreath after the celebration?
Well, it just feels appropriate.
Okay.
Everything goes into the fire. Like the whole ashes to ashes thing. That's it's one of those ancient things that's that has been carried on into Christianity, but was one of those things that come from the ancient past.
Oh, I'm sure.
Is that we acknowledge that everything will eventually die, and that we have to live life, for the now.
So, when it comes to the things that you do with your children and involve them in, is there another experience or another, like maybe something special for birthdays or something special for maybe annual events that you celebrate with your kids that you want to tell us about?
Well, sure. I mean, we also do the whole cake and candles regular thing. But yes, when we are around the other pagans, which there are only a few of us here and there. We do the singing and the dancing and the drinking of mead, and we really like to cook a nice ham and some bread and some cheese, and just celebrate. We celebrate. We tell the whoever's birthday it is when we're around. It's not just children. We did it for one of the other members. We told them happy birthday, and we sang and danced and did all that fun stuff. And
Cool.
just in a very pagan way, we're all barefoot, and we have runes written on everything, and it's a
Well, that
lot
sounds
of
good
fun.
to me. I don't like to wear shoes if I have to, and I only wear clothes when I have to. I don't like having to wear nothing. But
yeah.
I love wearing very little and feeling the stone and the grass and the dirt under my feet and touching trees and digging my hands down into snow or soil or sand or getting in the water and feeling stuff. I think it makes me feel more spiritually connected to things. And I've always loved nature. Now, I didn't have a heathen upbringing. I had a Christian upbringing, but the people here, they are very connected to the land. And they liken God and Christian stuff in very similar ways that you do when it comes to how we're all connected and all of that stuff. So I don't want to get into Christian stuff, but I grew up loving nature and being taught and enjoying it at the same time. And it's holistic and it makes me feel good. And I'm glad you brought that up. But we do have our first community. We have our first community engagement over on Entropy. It's from Carnal Conservative, who was on just a few weeks ago, as you all recall. And he says the smoke and incense are prayers to the God and the spirits, right?
Yes. Yes, they carry the prayers. When you light the incense and as the smoke goes up, you say the prayers, and it is thought of as carried on the smoke. Yes.
Okay, so it's like your wishes and thoughts are carried on that that spiritual medium to the spirits of the land.
Yes, and believe the trees can understand you, and if you're generally nice to them, they won't hurt you.
Okay. You shared a picture in Telegram earlier, a chalk drawing on the ground with your baby. Would you like me to show that and us talk about those symbols and what they mean to you?
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'll go ahead and put it up for us here. Give me just a second.
Annie's being really fussy.
That's okay. Do you want me to give you a minute to spend time with her, or is she just going to sit with you and keep making noise? Because that's fine with me if you want to just let her keep sitting with us and making noise.
Yeah, I came sit on the bed.
So here we see your little baby, and can you tell us about these symbols that you guys have drawn with chalk on the ground and what they mean to you?
Oh, that's on the trampoline. Sidewalk chalk does real good on the trampoline.
I see that now. I see the trampoline edge in the background. I didn't notice that.
Oh, Annie. Oh. So yes, the swastika is an ancient symbol of the sun. It is found throughout the ancient pottery and things in all across ancient Europe. And I follow a Telegram channel called Areology, and it routinely shows artifacts that are now in museums, where the swastika is on damn near everything, swords and pottery and just all sorts of ancient findings in old graves, and it represents the sun. And then around it, I've drawn a circle, and then on the outside of that, I've drawn a sort of kind of the black sun. It's kind of just I was just playing with chalk with her, obviously, and I've done, in the center is the sun, and on the outside is the black sun, and that's everything has an opposite. The sun has an opposite.
One of the reasons I wanted to share this picture today, one of the reasons I wanted to share this picture today is I know that with how the anti-white narrative has worked, one of those two symbols has definitely been slandered and associated with the great Satan in the anti-white religion. But I wanted people to see that these symbols predate all of the ugliness and all of the jingoistic application of the last 100 years. And we should not let those who seek to disenfranchise us with lies steal our history. And remembering what these symbols are and that they came before something that we've all been told is ugly and wrong is very important. And so I wanted to illustrate that by showing this picture today and have her tell us what these symbols mean.
Yeah, okay, so the black sun is just like the opposite of the white sun. The one is the sun we can see, and the other one is kind of, space. and it represents, you know, like esoteric hidden knowledge, and you know, generally things like that. And there's that castle in Germany that's got a big and proper looking one, inset into the floor in green stone,
Yeah,
and that has to
I've
do
seen a picture
with
of that a long
energies.
time ago, and that's in Germany because I've only seen a picture of it. That's in Germany though.
I do believe it's in Germany. The castle is now a museum.
Sweet. So tell me the
And yeah,
difference
I've
between
seen
the
people
black
in the
sun and.
chat saying that.
Go ahead.
I'm
What?
sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead. It's fine. You talk.
Oh, I
You
said
said
I
you
see
see
some
people in
people
the
in the
chat.
chat talking about India, and yes, there was an ancient tribe of Aryans that did go into northern India and make their mark there, and have a great impact on the later on the cultures that now live there, were greatly affected by this you know, migration of ancient Aryan people.
So tell me the difference between the white sun and the black sun and what that means.
Well, I mean, the white sun is the heat and light in the disk, as Savitri Devi puts it, and the
Hmm.
black sun is just the opposite, pretty much the cold of space, if you ask me. But yeah, so
So
it's
does
the
it
sun that we
represent the
can see,
void?
and
Does it
then
represent the
nighttime.
void and the unknowable? Is that a good way to say it?
Yes, yes, like occult mysteries and hidden things.
Okay. I assumed it had some kind of relation like that because I've seen the black sun used for occultism and the unknown and arcane knowledge before. So that makes sense with what little I put together.
Yes, it's about, you know, trying to delve into the mysteries. A lot of people who properly use the black sun, as a symbol, you know, are generally like trying to figure out deeper mysteries of, you know, life and the universe and all that. I generally think of it as representing the 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 darkness of space, the universe, you know. Whereas the white sun is this particular star our planet happens to orbit.
Yep. The something that Carnal just learned, he put in the question widget over here, is that there are similarities between the symbolic history of the swastika and the serpent as divine symbols, and he said that he had not known that before. So, see, I told you my streams are great because I like to bring on people that have a lot of information to share about religion and spirituality and practices and all that kind of stuff. And I knew that violence would be a good addition to that. So I'm really appreciative of you being
Oh,
here to tell
thank
us
you.
all this stuff today. Is there anything else you want to tell us about these symbols before we move on?
Um, you know, I wish I knew more. I
No, that's
just
okay.
have
It's fine.
that pretty much basic understanding of them.
And
Um,
the reason that you're
I
having
read.
the reason that you have your child exposed to these symbols, I assume, is not only to teach her the information and the spiritual knowledge and value that you shared with us today, but also to inoculate her against the lies and the anti-whiteism that will be associated with those symbols that she will learn from the evils in our society, right?
Well, certainly. I reject all the propaganda that came after 1945. Uh,
So do I.
yep. It's they've demonized our symbol because it is our symbol. It is
Yep.
the symbol of the sun, and our people were ancient sun worshippers in, you know, the prehistoric times.
Hmm.
And I'm just not gonna let, you know, what all happened in a couple of wars that were really just recent. War has been going on for millennia,
Hmm.
and you know, look, some of my ancestors were in France before the revolution, so you know, so some of them probably ancient ancestors that are lost to history probably had to fight Caesar.
Yep.
It doesn't mean I'm gonna hate Caesar, you know,
Yeah, exactly. And like
and
like I tell people all the
think of
time,
the laurel leaves around Caesar as like some kind of evil, you know. No.
yeah. And like I tell people on my channel all the time, it's important to realize that no matter where or when you look, whether you're looking in Stalinist Russia or Hitler's Germany or in Caesar's Rome, there are always good and evil men at play. So there were good and evil men that wore the swastika in Germany. There were good and evil men under Caesar. There were good and evil men everywhere. And it's important to not let an evil priest destroy the cross for you, just like it's important to not let evil people of any symbol that's important to your people and your culture take that from you. That's why I'm a big proponent of reclaiming the rainbow. I don't like letting these LGBT trans jackals poison that beautiful symbol of nature's purity and God's love. So that's why I like reviving and reclaiming the rainbow. And much that I think we should revive and reclaim the black sun, the swastika, and all of these other symbols that have been weaponized against us and stolen and appropriated. I think that we need to keep the truth and the connection to us and our history alive in those symbols and not let them be destroyed.
Right. And as these symbols are on so many ancient artifacts, I wanted her to see them because it's art and it's culture, and those are, you see, well, I view culture as I have this little metaphor for it, where I say it's a facet on the ring of it's like all of these. I'm sorry, let me back up. Culture is like a gem on a ring, and each facet is, say, food, clothing, habits, lifestyles, tools. Each facet of this enormous gem that is culture on the ring that is race. Okay, Heidi, please go lay down. Go lay down. Am I still on?
Yeah, I hear you. I was just waiting for you to get settled. It's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her to lie down and her to quit crying.
No problem. All right.
All right. Yes.
Let's
They've been
move
so
on to
good
something
all
else
week,
now.
but of course this has to happen. Everything always bad goes wrong.
It's okay. We can do this another day. I plan on having the people, Mr. Patriarch, Carnal Conservative, all the people, Lambda, the people willing to come talk to me about their beliefs. They're gonna come back on, and you're invited back on to talk more another day too. So let's move away from the symbols and the child now, and let's move to something else on the list of prepared things you had to talk about. Go ahead and choose us something else, and we'll talk about that.
All right. And hey, Carnal Conservative, how's it going? And let's see. Yeah. Okay. So I kind of jumped ahead and already mentioned how we teach them fire safety, but we also teach them weapon safety. My little one here has her own little axe that does not have an edge, and she's generally taught what axes are for and how to properly handle them.
Uh-huh.
And she only just turned 2. But yes, we go and we throw the axes outside. That's what my little picture has been. A lot of people can't tell what it is, but it's an axe and a stump. And so just other things as we, it's not, I'm sure, entirely different from the upbringing of myself, in a Catholic family, than the way I just raise her to mind and to listen and to eat her dinner and then but yes, at bedtime I do read her stories and sing to her, teach her to play the drums. And we have a couple of blowing horns that when we are doing a ceremony, we blow through these horns, and then the resonant sound that it creates, it clears the air, as it were.
Uh-huh.
And it calls to the gods to be aware that we're going to do a ritual, and please come and attend. Generally is the thought there.
Yeah.
And
keep your rifle by your side and all
and
that,
so
right?
we yes, and so we take these blowing horns and we blow them. She sees this, and so now she runs around with paper towel rolls that have been emptied and tries to do it,
Cool.
And that's generally encouraged. And and just like with anything else, she's taught to well, see, we have several large dogs, and she's taught how to keep them from jumping on her. And see, and in our yard we have a I wonder if I have a picture of it.
No.
Yeah, we have some stones stacked up in a sort of standing stone configuration. That occasionally it gets knocked down. We have to rebuild, and we include her in rebuilding the stones. And sometimes she, takes the stones and runs off in parts of the yard with them. And we tell her, look, bring them back, stack them back up. And the stones are also a representative of the land spirits. And when we would go out to the creek up on the there's I forget exactly. It's like North Chickamauga.
Okay, I'm not familiar with it, but that sounds like somewhere around here. there's a lot of Cherokee and what's the other one? There's Cherokee and is it Apache in this area? I don't remember. It's Cherokee and something in this area. I think it's Cherokee and Apache primarily in this area, but it's been like 30 years since I learned that in school. So.
Yeah, so I think there's the North Chickamauga on the Cumberland Trail that we go up there, and we didn't start it, but we definitely contributed to all of the standing stones just in the creek, in and around the creek, because the creek bed is all round, smooth stones, and we went and stacked up a whole bunch of them, and we generally did this kind of because we felt like it, I guess, is a way of putting it.
Well, that's good.
We felt
that
the land spirits
is important.
Yeah, it's like we feel a connection to the land spirits, and did this as a sort of honoring of them.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
The creek spirits and the land spirits. So we stacked up stones in and around the creek. There are large boulders in this creek too, and we go. My husband, being a welder, has a lot of soapstone, so we go on top of the big old boulder and draw some runes. We
cool.
just do these kinds of things.
We have some chat engagement for you I'd like to get to. First of all, I appreciate everyone donating lemons. We have Alex and Jim and Joe and several people donating the correct number of lemons, which is 14 over on DLive. Hello to all of you there. Good to see you there today, friends. Hoyt and all of that. And Cranky Cracker over on Odyssey also donates the correct number of Libre, which is 14. And he says, you're doing it right, Violence is Life. You're a great mom. Honor your ancestors. And I appreciate that. And now we move to Carnal Conservative again over on the question widget. He says, I love this. It reminds me of all the family-centered themes of my own faith. Be a steward of the land and remember your ancestors. Beautifully said. And I think we all should do that. And
yeah, Carnal's cool people.
There has been some trucking in the chat. And someone said something earlier that I interpreted to be anti-white propaganda about what we were talking about earlier. And so I said some rather snippy things. I'm going to step over that. And I did not mean any harm or hate to you who said that in the chat. But I police my chat heavily for anti-whiteism. And I thought that might be some anti-white propaganda. So I came down hard on it. So again, if you play nice, everyone's welcome to be here in chat. So I'm going to step over that and continue. Now, back to Violence is Life and your children and your family.
Right.
Let's move away from your children. Go ahead.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. Because another thing that I really like to do is we have marker boards and paint. Just
okay. Well, let's talk about that before we move away from kids. Sure, go ahead.
Instead of a dining room, I have a art room, and I generally teach her to draw and paint. And I try to teach her how to write her name. Now, she's not very cooperative about it yet, but I teach her how to write her name both in runes and in regular Latin letters. And I've kind of started including some Ogham in there too. It's just the Celtic. It's like lines and dashes, and slashes is the way that they're the ancient stones found in Ireland and Scotland that they believe were written on or carved on rather by the Picts. Hey, come here. Oh, then don't do that. Put it down. Oh, okay then. No, put it down and go lay down. It's nap time. She's not listening. Put it down. She's got this wooden toy, and it tends to pinch if you hold it wrong.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I hope she'll be okay.
Oh yeah, it's one of those like you can find it at gift shops on the Gulf Coast, where it's
Hmm.
like it looks like a dolphin, only it's made of wood.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, which my dad brought back from Florida, I think. Yeah, the Romans did build Hadrian's Wall because of the Picts, but that's not how you spell it. It's Pict.
Well, for sake of time, since we're already past the hour mark.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Um,
I saw that in the chat, and I just kind of, I'm
oh,
one of
that's
those
okay.
grammar Nazis.
That's okay. For sake of moving on here on time, since we're just past the hour mark, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was not specifically about your children, was about your husband and your family and the people connected to you in your personal life. Are there rituals or events or specific instances of behaviors that are connected to your faith and your rituals that you would like to share with us today about bonding between you and your husband, bonding between you and your friends, that kind of thing? Because I would love to hear about some of those.
Okay, so I think I had kind of left off earlier about like when I met him, we went up to our oh darn it.
It's okay.
We went up to our friend's house and it was he had written he has a animal pelt that he has drawn runes all over, and I stood there reading it because out of the whole group I read runes the fastest. I spend a lot of time studying them, and so that I can read them pretty much as well as I can read regular English and French. And so and he saw me reading them, and then he kind of looked at me like, like the way men do. And we got to talking after that, and we started, like, since we lived far apart, we were kind of long distance dating for a while, and then eventually he asked me to marry him, and I moved up here. And we had a hand fasting ceremony with one of our fellow pagans, well, heathens, performing hand fasting in North Georgia, and
Okay.
at their house that they had. Go over there. She's playing with a Pez dispenser, like right here. All right.
Carnal CC, Carnal Conservative again on the question widget says, it's sweet to hear the sounds of children during a live stream. Be proud. And yeah, I know that some of my viewers might be annoyed. I'm not personally annoyed at all. I don't mind being around sounds like that all the time. Those sounds don't bother me at all, and I think they're just fine. And besides, it's just a reminder that we have white babies, and that's a good thing.
Fussy right now.
It's okay. Well, since we're past the hour mark, do you want me to give you a moment to settle down, or do you want to just keep talking while she sits on your lap?
I'm really trying to calm her down here.
Okay. Hi, little baby. Let's get a 14 in the chat for her beautiful white baby. She's so cute. Well, can I talk to you while you're doing that?
Yep. Okay. I think. Come on, honey. Oh my goodness, she's being very fussy right now. I think she has a tummy ache, needs to poo.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and wrap up and be done for the day and come at this another day?
Oh, I'm really hoping I can get her to calm down and we can keep this on. But if she don't, maybe. But
well, okay. Well,
right,
just in case, let's go
So
ahead
let's
and
see. I'm
talk
trying to
about.
see my notebook. It's over here.
Okay.
Trying to see my notebook now.
Well, I was going to say let's talk about what
Yeah, I
it is
teach.
you want to
Okay.
share with
One of
others.
the things I had written down was I try to teach Heidi about the plants that we grow in the garden and which ones to eat and which ones not to eat. That's just
Okay.
another thing we do.
Well,
And
I shared
some
your
plants are
link tree.
considered, sacred. And I learn a lot from Varg and Marie Cachet, I think
Good
is
old
how
Varg.
Varg Vikernes.
Yeah, I think a
And we
lot of my
have a
followers know
copy of.
Varg. He's quite the character. I like Varg.
Oh yeah, we have a copy of his Mifarog game, which
Oh,
for
cool.
people who don't know is like it's a tabletop role playing game, but that's based on ancient culture and has quite a bit of the Havamal kind of inserted into it, and
Okay.
it's generally he made it on purpose in a way to teach his children, because they homeschool. He and Marie homeschool their 7 at this point children,
Okay.
and so we
I don't know
have.
how many. I know it's a lot. I'm not an
Oh yeah,
avid follower of Varg. I just think he's cool.
yeah, between him and Marie, and I think Varg has like one other child that he had with a woman before he married Marie, but she's like an adult now. But yes, Varg and Marie's 7 children. He uses the Mifarog game to homeschool them. So I bought a copy, and I'm working on doing much the same.
Okay. Well, before we get out of here today, I wanted to let you know I just shared your link tree in all of the chat. That link tree is where you can find where to keep up with Violence's life, where to read the things she writes, where to watch the things that she does. And speaking of watching the things that you do on Twitch, do you want to tell the people listening today and watching today what kind of things you do on Twitch?
Oh, lately I've just been throwing it on to kind of have proof of how much coding I've been doing. And one of the links in my link tree is to my GitHub, where I've been copying a textbook on Old English into code in a way so that it could be easily searched. And honestly, I've come across a couple of errors, and I fixed them.
Oh,
just
cool.
minor errors, things like commas in the wrong place, and
Okay.
And so I've been yes, Jack Blade, homeschooling works.
Yeah, homeschooling is great, and I'd like to see more of us having community school, community outreach, shared. What do they call it? There's a word for that where you have in a community people share different experiences, sort of like a mix of apprenticeship, but with the community, where people can teach the kids in the area how to blacksmith, how to work on cars, how to do farming and gardening, that kind of thing. I would love to see more of us building communities around that. I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's the way my grandmother, when she was little, she went to a one-room schoolhouse in a community entirely made up of our relatives, and when she was not in school, she was having to pick field peas on her dad's farm, and then during the winter, they would all go out to the camp and hunt furry animals. And my grandma since she was a little girl, she could skin nutria and mink and muskrats like a pro.
I have a question for you from the chat. Linda Hunter, Hoyt, by the way, Linda. No, I know Linda from around the way in many places, but most assuredly from the Scrubs community. Linda says, "What materials do you use for homeschooling?"
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear all of it.
Linda wants to know what materials that you use for homeschooling.
Well, I have a lot of books. I have a lot of books. Like quite a few hundred.
Well, can you name some? I'm sure that the people here would like to know what books and materials that you use for or plan to use for homeschooling if you haven't already started, since your kids are very young.
Let's see here. Oh, that's a Pinocchio coloring book. Hang on. Oh, my words. up here on this shelf are a lot of language books, medical books. That's my computer coding book. Some Zachariah Sitchin books.
Uh-huh.
This one's a big old dictionary. And look, when I was little, I would just crack open the dictionary, and I always passed my English courses.
Yeah. I read some old
being from the Bayou, I often, came upon, like, my teachers, being Cajun, spoke French first. So there's often times where Cajuns will say, while it may sound like they're speaking English, they're putting the words in the order they would in French, and so, that's just kind of a thing.
When I grew up, my parents had me read a lot too, and I think it was 1962, 1963 World Book encyclopedias they had, and they also had some old, I think from the 40s, big thick dictionaries. And some of my earliest memories were learning words and history and stuff with my mom, sitting with her looking through those World Book encyclopedias and big old dictionaries, and that was a lot of fun. That reminds me of that. I know that you follow my channel. Do you remember when Brant Danger and Donald Kent were on and we talked about the School of the West? Do you remember that?
Oh, I might have missed that one. I'm gonna have to catch up on that one.
Well, it was a while back now, but the School of the West, it originated with Brant Danger because he's an educator, a professional educator, and he began creating supplementary education for parents that do homeschool or hybrid schooling to teach through a lens of white well-being and white positivity, history and art and mathematics and science and biology and stuff, especially religion and old history. It's a supplemental website that has different curricula, and I think it's not for little kids like yours. I think that the curriculum is, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know it's at least for kids who can already read, I think. So, but definitely remember that, and maybe bookmark it to look into in the future as you plan. But and Linda, I don't know, Linda, if you're in the chat still, I don't know if you are familiar with School of the West or not, but definitely check out, it's schoolofthewest.world is the URL, and I put it in the chat for everybody. So Linda, you might want to look into that too, because I hear that it's really good.
I didn't see it. Schoolofthewest.world, huh?
Schoolofthewest.world, yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna catch up on that stream when I find it. I've been watching you a lot on Odyssey.
Good. Odyssey is great. I only put the streams that I think will be safe for the YouTube algorithm on YouTube now. Almost all of my content, my Discordant Dragon streams, my any streams I do with others where we're talking about, politics and coof and all that stuff, I'm keeping that off of YouTube. But I thought holistic family stuff would be safe for YouTube. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to put this stuff here.
Hey, look, the Hobbit's in this one.
Masumi Rabbit has a question about homeschooling. Masumi Rabbit, hello friend. He says, when homeschooling, aside from whatever you teach the children, do you still have to follow a study plan given to you by schools? I don't know the answer to that, so I figured I would ask you.
Not in Tennessee, you don't.
Okay, good. So in Tennessee, you don't. I assume that's up to a state and a county how they enforce education stuff.
Yeah, and there's something. And now let me think. There's an organization that you can join, and they pretty much declare you a teacher, and declare your household like a mini school, so you can, and it's generally used by Christian parents around here who can't afford a private Christian school. Let me think if I remember the name of it. The Farm School. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called the Farm School, and they will pretty much declare you a teacher.
Oh, cool. Let me get to some community engagement we had on Entropy. Johnny Reb for $4 says, thanks for your efforts, Yizz. Well, you're welcome, Johnny. Always good to see you around, my friend. Hope you and yours are doing well. Carnal Conservative again, the question widget says, I'm doing the same with the Bible, meaning your translation thing that you're doing, looking at the Old English book. He says, actually, he says he's doing the same thing about the role-playing game. He says that he's doing the same for the Bible, a generic gospel role-playing system, and he's going to use that to teach his kids about Christian values and stuff through the fun of role playing together as a family. So that sounds cool, Carnal. I like the sound of that. I think we even talked about that when you were on stream last time. But my memory is bad about stuff like that. All right.
Hi.
Well,
Go to the potty.
We're coming up on the end of the stream now. So, is there anything that you would like to shill or anything you would like to ask me or talk about before we wrap up here at the end?
I'm sorry, I'm having a little difficulty hearing you because of the crying. Heidi, go use the potty. Go. They've been good all week, but of course.
That's how it goes sometimes.
Man plans and God laughs.
They know that somebody else has mama's attention, and they don't like that. I know how kids do. But before we get out of here today, is there anything that you want to leave my listeners with, or anything you want to say before we close up today?
Peace is death.
Yeah, we're definitely in for the struggle of our lives. We all need to prepare and do what we can for our folk and our family. So I think that's a good place to leave it off today.
And personally, I've gone through life reading a lot of different books. I mean, I was made to read the Bible when I was little, and then I went ahead and read a whole lot of, philosophy and books about the ancient Greeks and Romans and Egyptians, and eventually came upon, the Poetic Edda and stuff. And I've just done a whole lot of reading and came upon practicing Asatru because I feel like it works for me better than, other things.
Sure. And anything that's of our people, I think, is worthy of preserving and celebrating. So I'm glad that there are many people that do, and I'm glad to have the books and be learning it myself. I'm going to do one more refresh on all of the donation sites to make sure that I don't miss anybody. Cash App is still blank, and it looks like PayPal is still blank for today. And I don't see any new tips over on Subscribestar, but I do appreciate those of you who support me monthly on Subscribestar, like I thanked you earlier. And as always, a big thank you to my guests today. Thank you for coming on today. And we just had Cranky Cracker donate another 14 Libre to say, hail Yizz, hail violence is life. Thank you, friend. And thank you to everyone over on D-Live for giving lemons again. I do appreciate that, everyone. I'll go ahead and open up a chest for you guys so you can have some lemons. And we're going to go ahead and crack that open.
I didn't have D-Live open.
Oh, that's okay. You're a guest today. But and if you need lemons, I'm sure I can give you some. I have plenty. So in the next 30 seconds, be sure to click the chest over on D-Live. Thank you to everyone, especially Johnny Reb, for the engagement over on Entropy today, and for Cranky Cracker and the other couple over on Odyssey. And thank you for everybody on YouTube today. It's good to see some familiar faces that I only see on YouTube. I wish you guys would follow me off YouTube to Odyssey, Entropy, and other places. Maybe you'll consider that as time goes on. So, again, thank you for being here today. We will schedule another stream to talk more about Asatru and your lovely family another day. And with that said, be sure to go check out her work, her Twitch streams that she does. And I look forward to having a conversation about this another day. So thank you again, Violence, and thank you to everyone here. And be sure to tune in Monday night for the next episode of Discordant Dragons. All minus one and a couple. All minus one, Bill, of course, and a couple of other fan favorites are returning Monday night for another fun stream of Discordant Dragons. So have a wonderful, blessed weekend, everybody. Stay white positive.